This episode was recorded before Rosamund Pike was officially announced for Moraine.
A podcast not seen since the Age of Legends. This is the One Power Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Episode 5. So excited to be here. I'm Greg.
And I'm Thorn.
And today we have a very, very special edition of One Power Podcast. We have a guest, our first guest, but by no means someone that is unheard of, Mr. Daniel Greene. Daniel, how are you tonight?
I'm doing very good. Thank you so much for having me on. I really look forward to this.
We are beyond excited. I was telling Thorn that my wife was a little excited for me. She watches a lot of different YouTubers of various backgrounds, and when I told her I got to be on a podcast with one of my favorite YouTubers, she kind of freaked out for me. So, but Thorn, I think you've had a little bit of excitement on your end as well.
I don't like being unprepared.
It is the most well-prepped podcast I've been a part of, so you guys are already taking a trophy in my book.
You are too kind, sir. Too kind. Now, before we get into everything, I wanted to, and I didn't mention this to you guys on the pre-show because I've kind of had it tucked away in the back of my head. So, in speaking with my wife, she knows that I've mentioned her a few times on the podcast already. She's on her first read through. Sorry, sweetheart, you won't get to listen to this podcast episode for a long time because she's only on the Great Hunt. But she was talking to me the other night, and she's like, "Do you ever call me by name?" And I was like, "Well, sometimes, and sometimes I just say my wife." She's like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So what would you like me to do?" She's like, "Well, Thorn is a Aes Sedai name, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "I want an Aes Sedai name." And I was like, okay. She goes,
she wants an OC.
No, listen, guys, it gets better. She goes, "I'm Tookie Sedai. That's my name."
No.
So, guys, I no longer am married to Taylor. I am married to Tookie Sedai. So, henceforth, she's helping me know.
Aes Sedai from New Jersey?
I mean, no, we're from South Alabama, so not quite.
Has she picked her Aja yet?
I don't know that. As far as I can tell, she is still a novice. So, yeah.
You don't get the Aes Sedai until you finish the series once. That's my opinion.
I mean, I told her that, and she's like, but I want it. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. And she bugged me to death about it last week, and I completely forgot about it. So I thought this would be a great episode to kind of put this on here, especially because she will not hear this for a long time.
What Aja do you think she's going to pick? Your wife.
Okay, so well. if I go off her personality, I would have to say yellow. And the reason being is she's actually a very caring person. She's very sensitive, and sometimes that clashes with me. Occasionally, I'm not saying kid gloves, but I have to remember that I'm not sensitive at all. I mean, I'm a manager. I'm not cutthroat, but I'm to the point and kind of blunt, and she's not. So I have to remember that. But she's very caring for people. And oh my God, don't do anything to an animal. Like, Lord, she's very bleeding heart for animals, especially our own dog, which I'm a bleeding heart for my own dog, which, Thorn and Daniel, both of you guys are pet owners as well. So I know you sympathize.
Oh, yeah. And it sounds like your wife and I have a lot in common because yellow might be the Aja I pick. Although controversially, I also think I might go red, but that's unrelated.
I'm not going to follow that train of thought. So, but
I'm a green.
She's a hardcore green, and I would have to say if I had to pick, uh, I'm probably a blue. I'm very much a causes guy.
Okay.
With maybe a hint of white. But
Okay.
I I love the character Moraine in the book series. She was, of course, she's a lot of people's favorite Aes Sedai. But you put her against like Nynaeve and Elaine and all of them going through the books, and your opinions kind of shift. But she kind of stayed toward the top for me as far as my favorite Aes Sedai. But I'll give you.
I have a video coming out tomorrow about Moraine, and I think I'd pretty definitively say in it that she is my favorite Aes Sedai. I got a deep love.
Oh,
for
no
Moraine.
question, absolutely. And speaking of that, and a lot of people are talking about this right now. Before we get into our main subject tonight, I watched your video today of the potential casting news for Rosamund Pike as Moraine. Maybe for people who haven't watched your video, you care to kind of recap that, just about 2-minute rundown on that?
Sure. So this is 100% a rumor up to the point we are recording. Maybe by the time this is released, it's actually been confirmed or denied. I haven't seen them deny it yet, which I don't know if that means it's true or not. I don't know if these Hollywood people typically will come out and deny a rumor or something like that. But Rosamund Pike, most known for Gone Girl, Jack Reacher. She was recently in the Watership Down adaptation. Incredibly talented actress, loads of awards. Does not fit the physical description of Moraine hardly at all. She's tall, she's blonde, but I think she captures Aes Sedai serenity very well. And in talent-wise as an actress, she is utterly remarkable. She is absolutely above a lot of the currently working talent in Hollywood. So I have nothing against her being Moraine, because as I've said before, I care about talent way more than looks when it comes to adapting these characters.
And
you can always dye hair and use
Right.
forced perspective and stuff like that.
Right. They made Elijah Wood look like he was 3 foot tall in Lord of the Rings. I think they can make a 5'9" woman look like she's 5'4".
I mean, that's what I said. I
Yeah.
sent the news, quote unquote, to a buddy of mine and said, "Hey, they're saying Rosamund Pike is going to be Moraine. It's a rumor." And the first thing he said was, "She's too old." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?" She's like, "I always pictured her looking younger." And I'm like, "Bro, look at her face again. Like, she does not look old in the slightest." And Daniel, you mentioned this on your video. I was surprised to find out how old she was. And
she's I don't mean to be rude, but she's in her 40s, I believe, or if not close. I forget the number.
It's somewhere around there, yeah.
But she has an agelessness. Yeah, she has that Hollywood agelessness to her a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying plastic surgery. I mean, she just looks like she's incredibly healthy and keeps
probably
herself
takes good care of her skin and stuff.
Right. Like Halle Berry's in her 50s, almost 60 now, and she looks like she's 30. Like, there's just that incredibly healthy person. Lifestyle.
Eating well.
Yeah, like you have a nutritionist picking out every single meal you eat. You're gonna look pretty good. So that she has that. So I think Aes Sedai serenity and agelessness really just comes down to diet.
And I'll be 100% honest with you. I looked at one picture of her, and I just imagined darker hair, and then what she wears around her forehead, and I went, I see it. I can see it. Like, I could see. I mean, a lot of people that I've seen some other casting where maybe in the face, the actress looked more like Moraine, but I think she's got the chops to play the part. And as far as the appearance goes, I'm like you, Daniel, and Thorne, of course. I really don't have a problem with it at all.
See, there's an additional thought here where, to be Moraine, in my mind, there's a level of difficulty, because Moraine as a character dominates so many scenes she's in, because she's so much more powerful, so much more knowing and wise than the entire party for the first half of the series. And so having that be something the actress can embody is very important. And I think someone like Rosamund Pike, who, if you watch Gone Girl, if you watch other movies she's in, she can definitely own a scene. Not every actress can do that. I think that's really important.
I completely agree with that. And Twitter, if you guys agree with it, if you guys are even still talking about it by the time this episode comes out, let us know. Tweet at us. We definitely would like to hear your opinions. But moving toward our actual topic tonight, so we've we've kind of told you guys kind of how our format here on One Power works. Most of our episodes are going to be walkthroughs of the book. Thorne and I, we each take a chapter every week, and we kind of just, summarize the chapter, and then we kind of pull out our favorite parts or parts that stuck out to us, and we discuss that. And that's what most episodes are going to be. But about every 5 episodes or so, we're going to do a topic, because we want to make sure that our listeners that have read the books more than once, several times, however many, as much as we all enjoy walking back through the books, we also enjoy talking about things with freedom all through the series. So that's what this is the first topical episode we will do. And we are endeavoring to have a guest every time. We may not be successful in that. We were very successful in our first try. So we definitely, that's what we're doing tonight. But tonight we're actually going to discuss Wheel of Time's magic system. Definitely something that is a mainstay and fixture in the Wheel of Time series. It is extremely plot-centric. So, Daniel, do you think that there's going to be a lot of spoilers in the rest of this episode?
Well, I can jump into some right now if you'd like. I can just go ahead and start throwing out, all kinds of things right and left. Yeah, this will be spoiler heavy. I think
right, absolutely. So if you have not read all of the books, because we have really no clue what exactly we're going to bring up in talking about the magic system, we advise that you stop listening right now. Hopefully the first 11 minutes of this podcast has entertained you, and maybe you can tune in for the last 5 when we switch gears and do this Twitter time segment. But even then, I would be a little cautious, because from here on out, we're definitely going to be talking about basically whatever we feel like in relation to the magic system. So Thorne, you kind of something for us here. So why don't you kind of go over, kind of the magic or the source of magic at the heart of everything, and then kind of from there, I guess, Daniel and I, and of course yourself, we'll just get in here and just see what we can discuss.
Okay, I think I'm going to start this with just a direct quote, and I'm just going to read this. This was said by Moraine Domadrid towards the beginning of Eye of the World. The one power comes from the true source, the driving force of creation, the force the creator made to turn the wheel of time. Saidin, the male half of the true source, and Saidar, the female half, work against each other, and at the same time together to provide that force. Saidin is fouled by the touch of the Dark One, like water with a thin slick of rancid oil floating on top. The water is still pure, but it cannot be touched without touching the foulness. Only Saidar is safe to be used. The true source cannot be used up any more than the river can be used up by the wheel of the mill. The source is the river, the Aes Sedai the water wheel.
I mean, that about sums it up. So we have in this an idea that the magic, if you will, which Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's ever referred to as magic.
Maybe some villager at some point throws it out there and says magic, and some commenters sure going to point that out to us when we say it's not. But as far as I'm aware, it is never regularly called.
And that's one thing I do like about the way the magic system is set up in Wheel of Time, is the fact that in most other works, comes to mind, Forgotten Realms, definitely, Lord of the Rings, there is some type of term used within the magic system that you basically know it's magic. Someone who uses the magic is called like a wizard or a witch or a sorcerer or something to that effect. Whereas in Wheel of Time, anyone who wields the one power, either side, either part, male or female, collectively they're called channelers. They later break apart and they can have different names, Aes Sedai and Ashaman and what have you. But,
wise ones.
Right, wise ones. We learn throughout the whole series that there are many different people who call themselves many different things, but they're all can be called channelers. So that was always interesting to me, because it wasn't just, hey, I'm going to pick up a magic wand, learn a spell, and then cast it. It's way more involved in that. I mean, is that something you guys think, you guys agree with? I mean, do you think this is a little more of a hard magic system compared to some other stuff that maybe a lot of people are used to?
A lot of people claim that the Wheel of Time's magic system is the hardest magic system ever, and I don't think that's the case. It is a hard magic system, especially when compared to the grand scope of fantasy, and you look at things like Harry Potter. But there's certainly been harder, and I think Robert Jordan found a good balance of never letting just because plot be at the source of why something happens with the one power. But he also just allowed it to serve the plot when needed without ever taking away tension or eliminating the stakes of the situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever Nynaeve wants to heal something, the big thing that she says is, as long as it's not death, anything should be able to be healed.
Right.
And that's usually what gets her to be able to do her amazing feats.
I mean, that's a good point. And something else that I have also seen, even with it being a hard magic system, is there is room to either recapture what was lost or venture into new territory, as we see. Well, Nynaeve, one of a few in the series that actually, I don't want to say go into uncharted territory, but like, this is a great example. Nynaeve discovers how to heal Stilling. That's huge.
Yeah, I don't think that was something that they could even do in the Age of Legends.
Right. And it was because all of the more experienced, older, whatever, Aes Sedai, from the top down, we're all saying, well, Stilling can't be healed. It can't be healed. It cannot be reversed. And then she's using this system, using this power, using Sidar, and she finally says, hey, I've healed Stilling. Look, I healed Logain, and I've healed Swan, and so on and so forth. And everyone's like, no, you're crazy. And then they can demonstrate that they're reconnected to the one power. So I think, because a lot of times, and Daniel, maybe you've got some weigh in on this too, but sometimes in harder magic systems, maybe not just hard as a general rule, but harder magic systems, there are like just set rules and set things that are absolutely never broken. And I see at least a little bit of flexibility with the one power. What would you say to that?
Well, what comes down to, it really echoes to a core conflict with the Aes Sedai and their relationship to the one power, because very often it's them set in their ways who are saying, no, it can't be done. And the Aes Sedai act like they are the keepers of channeling as a whole because they've been such a sole source of it. But in reality, if you step back in the series, you really take a look, the Aes Sedai are not ignorant. They are certainly the greatest sources of this knowledge in the world when the series starts, but they don't know as much as they once did. And whenever they say this can't be done or no, I think Robert Jordan took time and effort to show that maybe, it's possibly.
That is just stubbornness.
Yeah, it's mainly them feeling like they own this thing that they don't. And I think that's something that I think, I wish that conflict was more explored in this series, that the Aes Sedai almost push other people around who can channel. They demand people who can channel be sent to the White Tower. Women, at least, men, that's a other situation. But
it's talked about a little bit with the wise ones.
Yeah, but not to an extent I would have liked. I would have liked real conflict where, I don't know. I just wish it had. Obviously, the Wheel of Time had a lot of conflicts that I'm trying to add to a boat that's full.
Yeah, I think that with Egwene being trained by the wise ones when she was so young, and then becoming Amerlin, that kind of helped a little bit with not trying to force the wise ones to do what the Aes Sedai wanted.
Yeah. Well, she still does need to convince people, though. She is having to stand up to other Aes Sedai and say, no, leave the wise ones alone. We are not going to try and own them. She does have the mentality of trying to incorporate more people into the White Tower, but I think she's less like the Tower used to be, where they are very stringent. If you channel, you will be affiliated with us, and we will be in charge of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, whereas Egwene was willing to have the kin have their own thing, and the wise ones have their own thing, and the Windfinders, sorry. The Windfinders have their own thing, but
Right.
Just have them kind of like exchange students sort of thing. Yeah. I thought that was a really interesting idea.
Everyone kind of has a finger in each other's pots. That's a weird phrase, but yeah.
Well, Thorn, I'm actually glad you brought up the kin, because in talking about how the Aes Sedai were basically, they did to an extent have this mentality of we know all there is to know about the One Power, about Sidar. We or as you guys have already mentioned, the keepers of Sidar. But then you meet the women of the kin who are living well beyond the oldest recorded Aes Sedai, because the Aes Sedai are doing certain things that are actually, even though it's lengthening their life in normal human terms, it's not letting them live as long as they could. As the kin are saying they're 4, 5, 6, 700 years old, and then the Aes Sedai are maybe 2 or 3.
There's also the one Damane who says that she was 500 years old.
Mm-hmm. Which always baffled me with the way the Shan-Chan, which is one group we haven't mentioned yet. I think we've touched on a lot of different groups already that use the One Power to a degree, especially on the female side. But especially with the way the Damane are used, and yes, they are used, that actually kind of surprised me when I read that, was that there was a Damane that lived that long. To me, it seemed like with the Adom, it would actually decrease the lifespan, and maybe it does for some. I'm not sure.
I think it probably has to do with how the Shan-Chan keep their demonic. That sounds so gross to me.
That's because it is really gross.
It really is. You should feel that way.
They're fed good diets. They're not wanting to. For the most part, they don't randomly. They don't starve or physically beat their demone.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, they do it through the Adom, but they don't actually leave wounds on them.
Right. Well, and just following the vein of, what they do with the demone is wrong, very wrong. I think we might have mentioned this when we discussed the Shan-Chan on the Black Tower, but Thorne and I did. But sitting here thinking about it, the demone are almost like prize show dogs.
Yeah,
the way they're treated.
Absolutely, they're literally treated like that multiple times. Yeah,
I mean, even where they sleep and stay are called kennels.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are women, these are human beings,
and
they're being put in kennels.
I actually love the Shan-Chan as a people, but their ideas on Chandlers are disgusting.
Well,
I find them fascinating, but their Chandlers stuff is gross.
That's just one of the conflicts that comes about with Robert Jordan's amazing work with culture. I mean, so many of his cultures are so fascinating, even the evil, horrific ones. You're like, I want to learn more. Like it's, they're so well done. You're still curious.
There's also the Chandlers with the
Shara.
Sharans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where they have the tattoos on their faces.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that if we got more information about them, we would probably, this is just an assumption, I would think that the way they do channeling and the way they treat their channelers may actually, in some degree, be worse than the Shan-Chan. But I could be wrong about that.
I think the mysteries there, I mean, it was expanded upon a little bit in Unfettered 3. We got to see a little bit more of a glimpse into their culture. But yeah, in general, I like how that was left so vague. We have this mystic other land over there we don't know much about. And that's like a fantasy trope that I'm happy is not dead.
Yeah. No,
yeah, that's... I'm into open-ended things. I mean, like, I would like to know more about them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the fact that I can leave that to my imagination is also good.
Yeah. Well, I think a good story lends itself to your imagination. Of course, none of us are ever, would ever say that it was a good thing that Robert Jordan was not able to finish the series. But at the same time, by him not being the one to finish the series and Brandon Sanderson taking a firm stance and saying, I'm not doing anything that he did not write down, which basically ends with the last book. Because we know that Robert Jordan toyed with the idea of writing some books, in the aftermath of the last battle and maybe explaining some stuff from the Age of Legends and things like that. We've heard, and read snippets of of that. But at the same time, as much as I love backstory, I love depth. There's a lot of stuff in the Wheel of Time that's not exactly answered. The right things are answered, but there's a lot of things in the Wheel of Time that aren't answered, and I'm okay with them not being answered because to me, it still keeps a lot of fascination in the world, because when you go, doesn't matter how many times you go back into the Wheel of Time, there's still mystery about something. Everything is not figured out.
I've said before, the series is a borderline mystery series. It has horror elements, it has mystery. You know, it's not just your typical classic fantasy, which is one of the reasons I love it so much.
And I would have to agree. I think, I've said this. I don't know if I've said this on the One Power yet. I know I've said it before, but I was telling Thorn on an episode, I think it was at Black Tower, that Wheel of Time became my number one fantasy series. I started it last August and finished it this previous January. So I think 4.5 months. I read through all of it. Wow. And well, I will be honest with you. I had the help of Audible. I listened to it at work.
Are incredible.
Right. Oh, it's fantastic. But I was cranking through these books, and then when I got through reading A Memory of Light, and no, I actually read the majority of Memory of Light because I had to have the book in my hands. It was like, I at least did this. I listened to some parts of it, but most of it I sat down and read. But when I got to the last battle, y'all, I got to tell this. Okay. So when I got to the last battle, I told my wife, I was off work on a Monday. I got to the last battle on the Sunday night before. And I told her, I said, sweetheart, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. She goes, well, yeah, it's your day off. I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm locking myself in the room and I'm not doing anything because it's time. And I just held the book up. She goes, oh, you're finishing the book. And I was like, something's about to happen to me. So check on me every now and again. Make sure I'm breathing.
That's a good idea with the last battle, especially because so many emotions go through it. There's a person in one of the Discord groups that we were pretty much following her as she was reading it, because she would comment about what was happening, and she was going on vacation and was like, should I take the last book with me? And we were like, no.
It will ruin your vacation.
Absolutely.
But you need to wait till you get back and have just at least 5 boxes of tissues with you.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing was too, so I started it fairly early in the morning. I did sleep in some, but then I got up and started the day, and then that's what I did. I just went into this back room I have in my apartment here, which is where all my books are, and just sat down in my chair and started reading and did not stop. And when I got through the last battle, I was like, oh my God, my butt is thoroughly kicked. And then I got to looking and I said, wait a minute, there's only 100 pages left in the whole book. Let's do it. I did all of it in one day. Like the last battle, the end of the book, I did all of it in one day. And when I went to bed at like almost 1:00 that night. And guys, my eyes have not hurt so bad in such a long time. Oh my God. I wouldn't let myself stop. I'd stop to eat and use bathroom, things like that, but I didn't break away from it. It was just like read. And then about 10:00 that night, my eyes gave out. Like they literally, like everything was blurry. So I would hold the book up about 2 inches from my face, it felt like, to read it. And then everything would start blurring and I'd have to shut my eyes for like 30 seconds and then open them back up and read 2 more paragraphs until it slowed me way down. But I was like, doggone it, I'm going to finish this book tonight. So I did, and no regrets. No regrets at all. Absolutely not. But talking about the magic system, we've mentioned Saidar already, but I think there's a little more mystery around Saidin, even after Rand cleanses it and things like that. To me, it's still more mysterious than Saidar. I don't know. Do either of you feel like that as far as the whole series goes?
Yeah, without question.
Yeah, especially since you don't get a lot into how men channel.
That's true.
There's a little bit of information on it, and we know that it's different, but we get a lot of explanation towards the female half because
Right.
we're learning through Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve's eyes.
Well, yeah, it was like we learned the magic system through the use of Saidar. We didn't learn it
Yes.
through the use of Saidin. I'll never forget when I was reading Knife of Dreams, my buddy had told me this was going to happen. He didn't tell me when, but he told me it was going to happen. Whenever Rand and they're in the house and they get attacked by the Trollocs, and him and it's like Lou's staring and he's still in his head, and he's opening all these different gates, and then he's just sending them flinging and flying into the Trollocs, and they're like death gates, and they're just like turning over and like basically eating through the Trollocs. I was like, what is happening right now? What is my life right now? This is incredible and terrifying. Like, I thought Dumai's Wells was scary. This is, whoa. I was tripping out. But
At least it was only attacking Trollocs.
that's true. But then I got to thinking, oh God, Taim. Oh God. I was like, oh no. So I actually expected that to come out more in the last battle. I don't remember if it did or not.
I think that Logain was the one that was around.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. Taim did not get to see the Death Gates.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I could be misremembering though.
I think you guys are right because Logain was the one that was around, but I didn't know if Taim. Like, my thought at the time was if Rand discovered it, how long before the rest of the Ashaman and Taim find out? And of course, we were still getting. I'm trying to remember. I get fuzzy on the timeline sometimes, but I'm trying to remember if Taim by that point had already been openly exposed to us without being hinted at, but just openly exposed to us as a dark friend, as a Forsaken candidate, or if that had yet been
No, I
revealed.
don't.
I think
so.
it was approaching, but it hadn't happened yet.
I think that it wasn't actually revealed officially until later, but it had been hinted at from the moment you met Taim because he is a creepy motherfucker.
Oh, dude, no. Okay, but yeah. So, one other thing I thought was interesting with the magic system is how I'm just trying to see if I can just word this right. I guess how the channeler feels, or the feeling that the channeler has whenever they're using their respective half of the one power. Does that make any sense?
Well, I mean, so much of us, the reader, experiencing these magic systems with them is just kind of going through the feelings these people are having while they're using this, while they're using the one power. And I would say, like, I like how, as the series progressed, we went from getting these detailed emotional descriptions to getting just, okay, now I'm opening a gateway. I didn't say they're embracing it anymore first. It's just, you get there. Because I feel like no matter how drastic something is, like, using the one power is almost like heroin at the beginning when these people, like, they're just like, it's the greatest feeling ever. Everything's so much better. But even using something that's that intoxicating, eventually you're just going to be like, yeah, it's the same thing I've done before. It's whatever.
Right.
You get used to whatever.
Accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I also too thought, the comparison between Saidin and Saidar as far as like what they feel the euphoria, obviously, but at the same time they also actually have like with Saidin, it was always related to like heat and fire and just
And fighting it.
right, yeah, and yeah, well, yeah, for the longest time,
Wrestling a bear.
Basically. And of course Saidar was more like, I guess, water moving through you, and I've actually heard maybe like wind, if I'm remembering how they described it correctly.
Their exercise was imagining themselves as a river contained by a bank, and that they just open themselves up to it and they just follow it.
Yep, I don't remember any Ashaman exercises. I just remember Ashaman kill, and I was just like, okay.
Ashaman have to Ashaman and Rand, of course, have to fight the power at all times. It is not a surrendering, it is a battle.
Right, as opposed to the Aes Sedai, who say channeling is like guiding a river. It's not a fight, it's a guiding, whereas with men, it's not even due to the taint. They're fighting it, and that's just the way that power is. Once they cleanse the taint, that doesn't go away. They're forever. Yeah, I know, cleansing taint. It's never not going to cause giggles.
Oh my god! When my wife first read that, like when she read the prologue, she was like, Tane? And I was like, oh God, here we go. Here we go. Let's renew it. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Get it all out now. You'll never get it all out, but go ahead and get it out now. Then she just goes. Like she starts
I get on my giggling tangents and I can't stop.
Well, I mean, there's jokes to be had there. Let's just be real. I mean, I am so surprised Watt phrasing has not picked up on that yet.
You start with talking about a taint, and then you talk about cleaning a taint.
God almighty. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't learned, we're pretty immature. But
I'm like mentally 5.
That's fair, because we have to explain jokes to you all the time. Hashtag explain jokes to Thorn. Sorry.
Nobody's done that yet.
Well, it's because we got to make it happen. Anyway, so maybe Daniel can help. I don't know. But the thing with Daniel, I liked what the contrast you gave, though, is, or both of you gave, is, in the one hand, the Saidar is, you are guiding it, or, like the river, wind, and all that's more, I guess, peaceful, calming imagery there, if you will, for the reader. Whereas Saidin, just like you said, it's just a constant fight. And I always made me think, Saidar sounded fantastic. Saidin sounded exhausting, which we do see that. We do see Rand, especially, because out of all the channelers of Saidin, we are in his head the most, for better or for worse there. And, we see his struggle with it, and we get the intensity in his mind of, channeling this power. And it's just, oftentimes I found a good word to describe it would be ferocious.
Yeah, but I would say that, Sayadar is also incredibly tiring. I mean, guiding a river, I don't know if you've ever sat with a boogie board on the beach and tried to stop some water.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an easy task.
Oh, sure. But it's easier. I guess you could say it would be easier. I don't say easier, but a better feeling.
I wouldn't say.
Well, I was going to say it'd be a better feeling to be guiding something that's powerful versus fighting something and trying to almost tame it to use it.
Yeah, force it to what you need it to do. But if you don't surrender to Saidar, you also cannot use it. If you try to force it, then it's going to say, nope, we're not doing this.
And that's part of the whole, they're two different sides of the same coin aspect to this magic system.
Right. And it just, it lends itself to, to that, to the two different halves, how they are different, yet together they make up one power. These are the forces that make the force that drives the wheel of time and all of creation and all of that, which is fascinating to me, because I don't know. I mean, you've heard magic in a lot of other systems, even hard systems, described as, or you're tapping into the life force or of the earth or something to that nature, some kind of force beyond you. I sound like a Jedi right now, but but in this case, he literally defines it. It is defined as basically the force that drives the wheel. Mm-hmm. And that's actually absolutely fascinating to me to know that whatever these humans are doing, they're literally using the power of creation to accomplish their goal, whether it be good or ill. That always fascinated me. That was just such a good thing about what he did with the magic system and Wheel of Time. It was incredible.
Speaking of ill, we need to remember to mention the third power that exists.
Yeah. So,
we are there. If we're talking magic systems, Wheel of Time, there's more than just two. We have so many more beyond that. There's also the Dream World. There's also Wolf Brothers. We have a lot to get through.
Right.
But out of powers that people can actually harness and actually use to do things with, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the true power, which is very confusing.
Yes.
Because we have the true power and the true source. The true source is made up of Saidin and Saidar. The true power is a source of energy that is derived from the Dark One.
The way I always tried to keep them separate in my head and when I'm reading is, to me, because they both had the word true associated with them, because one power, it's the name of our podcast, it's one of the biggest ways to refer to, the one power, but the one power is also called the true source, and then you have the true power, and that's where you get confused. But the one thing I always try to remember is, to me, true power was almost like propaganda. It was saying this is the real stuff, not that siding crap. This is the real stuff. You guys want this, and it was a deception. I mean, it was a deception, because all it is basically the Chandler tying themselves into the Dark One, and however much freedom he gives you is what he gives you, but you're basically a slave.
I don't know why, but what you just said made me think of the Dark One being like, "Hi, Billy Mays here with the true power."
Oh my god, that's incredible! Hi, Shaitan here I'm here to tell you about the true power.
I'm going to save that.
Gets out stains instantly. No more pesky wine stains from those boring dinners with the Aes Sedai. Now you have the true power.
Exactly.
Good Lord. Oh man, Daniel, that was too good. That was too good. Oh my god. A little bit of recovery time here. Mostly for Thorn. She giggles a lot longer than I do.
But the most important thing is it's not separated into male and female halves. It's one reservoir of power, and it can be used by men or women as long as the Dark One lets them wield it. But it has some drawbacks, which aren't fully explained. But one thing that we can visually see in Moradin is that he has something called the saw in his eyes. I was hoping
you'd bring that up, because I was so freaking fascinated with that when I was reading the books. I was just like, what is it? What is that? And I always imagined it was like a little comma floating in his eye.
I imagine like it looks like a piece of dirt, but like just floating across their eye.
Okay, so maybe
I always just those like eye shadow things that whenever you try to look at them shoot across your vision.
Yes, I was just about to say that.
The more severe version of those. So even I just imagine like the people using the true power, or sorry, the power too much. Like they're just like whatever people are around, they're just like so annoyed. Like, God damn it.
I can't see any of you. I can feel you. I'm going to kill you, but I can't see you. Why can't you see the saw in my eye? God. I'm sorry. That sounds like
pretty much exactly.
That sounds like a Twitter interaction right there. Where's Luz Theron? Where's Moradin? Where are you guys at? Where is Potato Dread? I need Potato Dread right now. Actually,
yeah, but the main person that we see using it is Moradin, and then occasionally you see some of the other of the Forsaken use it, and actually Rand was able to use it at one point.
That scared the bejesus out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Lie. Oh yeah. Well, by then I knew what it was, and I had no clue what it was gonna do to him. I didn't know, because it was that whole scene with Cimarog and Min and everything, and he was going into this rage and he was tapping into the true power, and I was like, Rand, what are you about to do? What are you about to do? Are you about to go do my wells on this chick? I mean, what are you going to do? Like, I'm so freaked out right now. Not freaked out in a sense of like, oh my God, I'm so scared, I'm terrified, I'm putting the book down and hiding under the covers type of afraid. It was just like, Rand, don't do it. And which, right. I mean, it panned out probably, I guess, as well as it could have. But I was like, that was an intense moment. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah. And I think I think there is a connection between Rand delving into that and him entering such a dark phase. Obviously, he went through a traumatic event, but Rand's been through many traumatic events, right. Maybe not quite as bad, but he touched this tainted thing, and
tainted love.
I think it was so close to the Dark One that it had an irreparable. Well, not irreparable. It did eventually. He did get over it, but it did taint him. Oh my God, for a long time.
Yep. Daniel, would you say that word is forever tainted?
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm sorry, we're having too much fun with this.
Some people have theorized that the taint on Sidene had to do with like a thin amount of the true power being over it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think I've thought about it.
I mean, there's so much stuff you can speculate on there. We don't have definitive answers, but it's all interesting to speculate on.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, talking about we've talked about the true power. I kind of want to, I guess, veer back over to the one power for a little while before we, start wrapping the actual topic up, because, we've talked about them separately, but we do have instances where we see them in a way work together. I guess my question would be, what are some instances of that stick out in y'all's mind, as far as when you have a male and a female channeler working together with their respective halves of the one power to accomplish something?
Well, I mean, the greatest things in the history of the series are accomplished that way. I mean, they are two halves of a whole. They're intrinsically tied. And so whenever one is operating without the other, you're getting not the best of both worlds. I always like to think of it as a sword and a shield. One is good, but it's better to have both.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good way to put that.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to put that.
I think my favorite is Mahalanir.
Yes. Oh God, yes. Oh my God, that whole scene. Y'all, you don't even know. When I read that scene, I was like, what is this epicness? Like, what is my life? This is better than freaking Lord of the Rings when Aragorn got his sword. This is better than that.
I thought that I was the green here to be gushing over a sword or
It's a
hammer.
Man. It's a hammer, and I'm not officially a
weapon.
blue. I'm just speculating. I haven't taken a test. Okay.
The inevitable question must come. It's a big ass hammer. It's
huge.
It's huge. So I need to know what does Perrin bench? Like, I need to get my bros stats.
Well,
I want to say
I'm
a
gonna tell
lot.
you.
I imagine Perrin is like super buff.
Oh, he's huge. He's got to be. He's described as huge. And I think the best way to answer your question, Daniel, is how much can he bench? He can bench Rand and Matt and Egwene and Nynaeve, and I can name about 6 more people of average build and height, and he could probably all stack them.
As Perrin told Tom Maryland, I could pick you up right now.
And of course, Tom Maryland's like, no, you can't.
He obviously can pick them up. I just want to know how far a brother can throw them.
Yes. How far can Perrin yeet?
Okay, so in terms of yeeting, I think he can throw Rand a decent distance. I think he can launch Matt. Matt is skinny. I mean, he's not a small guy, but he's described as
thin and still
yeah. I mean, he's not tiny and he's formidable, but he's not necessarily heavy. I think Rand gets a little heavier, from training and everything.
He's broad of shoulder.
So, okay, I'm gonna cross nerd streams here for a second, because Daniel, I don't know where you're at on any of this, but Thorn, I think you might know who I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna take the stab at it here. Have either of you guys seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Yes.
Daniel,
episodes.
Do you remember, talking to Daniel, do you remember the very, very large man that was very boastful and kind of sparkled whenever he flexed?
I don't know what this is.
Okay, so there's a character, and this is for people who are not fans of the show. Look this dude up, Alex Louis Armstrong, and he's huge. He is muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle, and he lets you know it. Every time he shows up, he's like ripping his shirt off, and he's like, I'm about to show you this muscle technique of alchemy passed down for generations from the Armstrong dynasty and all this other stuff. He's very boastful, but very proud, which is an extremely lovable character. He's a great character. And I guess, Thorn, you'll be the one to appreciate it more than Daniel here, but I want Perrin to meet Armstrong. And I want them to have an arm wrestling match. I want to see who wins.
I'm going to send you something on Twitter, Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah. Watch
Sorry,
out for
I'm
that.
currently trying to throw a cat out of my lap.
Oh,
I
don't throw
feel
cats.
that
Don't
all
throw
the
him.
time.
Just
I'm
take
not,
him.
okay, bodily remove.
Wasn't there a video years a while back where you had to like was it you that said no, it wasn't you, it was someone else. There was somebody, I think it was on the Black Tower, who's like, we're not animal abusers, I just need to move my cat or something like that. Like, I'm just trying to get my cat out of my lap. Go, move. Anyway, but for any anime fans out there, I think let us know. Would you like to see a arm wrestling match between Perrin Barra and Alex Armstrong? I think that would be marvelous. That would be so funny. But yes, Perrin's role.
What I just sent you, Daniel, that's Armstrong.
Oh, okay. I need to jump over to Twitter real quick. Give me a second.
Oh yes, please. We need to do reaction. I need a reaction on this episode. I have opened a can of worms.
You should see the GIF I
God,
chose
what did
too.
you send him?
Oh my god. See, sometimes it's just like that's not even how muscles work. Like the way they draw these people, it's like there's no muscle there, man.
That's not accurate at all. Said no anime fan ever. Because we all know it's just anime is just out there. But anyway, but going back to so Thorne, you mentioned Mahalanir, the forging of Mahalanir, as far as the combined effort of Siding and Side R. Of course, the most notorious, or I say notorious, well-known use of both was, here's the word again, the cleansing of the taint by Rand and Nynaeve, both using the respective parts of the one power. That's always the go-to.
I would like to point out something that is underappreciated.
Absolutely.
The fact that if a woman heals another woman of stilling, that they come back not as strong. But if a woman heals a man, he comes back with his full strength, and vice versa.
I wonder why that is. Did we never got an explanation for that, did we?
I think it has to do with being able to bridge that gap.
Maybe. Daniel, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's just one. I don't mean to sound like I'm trying to play it down, but I just think it's one of those things where Robert Jordan once again wanted to emphasize that these two powers need each other without question, and it's just another way to do that, to show they're so intertwined. I'm sure there might be an actual logical explanation within the text, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's just Robert Jordan being like, they're important together.
And look what they can do together. How does that work? Does it matter? It just does. Accept it and move on. You're 12 books in. Let's just go. Okay, you're this far. You don't need any more explanation. You have enough. You have enough. Just go.
Hi, Robert Jordan here with teamwork.
Turning the wheel of time one half at a time. Tonight we don't have to explain the jokes to Thorne. Apparently they write themselves. I think another good example that just came to my mind was, and I'm trying to make sure I remember saying the names correctly, because you guys have very much a lead on me in this, and that I've literally only read the books one time through. You guys have read them multiple times. So if I butcher the names or forget the names, forgive me and correct me. But Andral and Pavara.
You got it.
Yeah. How they when they basically bonded each other.
Yes, that scene was
it was hilarious. But then like the way they worked together after that was awesome.
They needed Seinfeld music after they bonded.
Oh my god!
Together, but yeah, it was a great moment.
Or humor me. You read that scene and then you hear Bob Saget come on and say, "And that, kids, is how I met your mother."
That's great. I like that.
It just popped in my head. I was just like, nope, gotta run with it. Running.
Oh my god, yes.
So but that's the thing though, is like we got glimpses in some respects, and then we got to see the grand displays of it in other ways, of how when these two halves of a whole actually work together instead of apart or against one another, they do some pretty spectacular things. Very spectacular things. And of course, Daniel, you hit the nail on the head a minute ago where, you said, well, Robert Jordan is just trying to emphasize that these things were meant to work together. And if you go back to the Age of Legends, it is telling that the Aes Sedai were not male or female. That's what they called the channelers. They called them Aes Sedai. That was period. Yeah. That Luz Theron was an Aes Sedai. Other people were Aes Sedai, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, what half of the power you used, you were Aes Sedai. So there's a lot to be said about that. Are there any other either memorable things or things that stand out to you about the One Power or the magic system in general?
Well, one of my favorite usages of it, and this might be a cop-out answer, but I love lore and history, and of course in Wheel of Time we get that in abundances, and we're told again and again throughout the Wheel of Time what it could accomplish in the past. I mean, we get glimpses into the Age of Legends and things beyond, and it's literally the future. Like, they're doing things we can't do now.
Right.
And I like that, because time is a wheel here, we know that once the Black Tower and the White Tower begin cooperating again, once those levels are reached and we transcend the petty squabbles of vagina and penis, great, amazing things will be accomplished.
Very eloquently put. Very eloquently put. Hats off to you, sir. Very, very, very nicely stated. But for real, that is.
You don't want to know what went in my head. Sorry.
I'm not gonna follow that thought. No. Nope, not doing it. But Daniel, you make a great point, though. I guess because all throughout the series, it's kind of showing where the age is, and we, like you said, we do get glimpses, where it's like, oh, when these people work together, holy cow! Oh, what's that thing that's flying in the air? And we get these little snippets, these little memories from different avenues throughout the series, especially when Rand is with the Aiel and a couple other things. We get glimpses into the past and how great things were I say great, how spectacular things were, how grandiose they were, the technology that they had, things that they were doing. And then now it's almost like, well, basically the civilization is kind of coming out of a dark age almost. Especially after the breaking, and they're starting to rediscover things. That's why whenever 90, which I don't know if this was rediscovered, but the discovery that you can heal stilling, and the fact that they're starting to make ter'angreal again, and all this other stuff. It's just, you start to see these things happen, and you start to see them roll, and it's kind of like, it's like you said, Daniel. It's like since it's a wheel, we know that eventually these things are going to progress to the point that they have this golden age again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
that's the whole core philosophy,
right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to point out about the One Power specifically when we've talked about uses and things like that.
I was under the impression that this podcast has some wonderful fan interaction towards the end.
Oh, we do, and we're moving straight toward that. So, in any respect, way to keep me on track, Daniel. Thank you.
I'm the master of segues.
Dude, no.
I usually just let him talk until he
shuts up.
And just let him go.
Shut up until I run. I'm like, I'm taking a breath, and Thorn's like, and next we have. Actually, to be fair, we actually kind of, when we do our normal podcast format, we actually kind of say, okay, Greg's going to do this, Thorn's going to do this, Greg's going to do this, Thorn's going to do that. And when that thing is over, then the next person just kind of takes it, which is a little different tonight because, Daniel's here. So, but yes, Daniel does make a good point. So I think we've had a pretty good discussion so far, if not entirely, of the magic system, the One Power, our namesake here on the One Power podcast. I mean, we would be, that's actually one of the reasons I told Thorn, let's talk about the magic system because we're the One Power podcast. What else we talk about? But as always, we like to keep this segment in all of our episodes, except for episode 2, because reasons. And Twitter time. Obviously, we would not be here without this amazing community that we have all been a part of and discovered. And I am speaking for the three of us, I believe. All three of us are decently active. Daniel as himself, Thorn as her Thorn character account, and me as the Randall Thor the Dragon Reborn account, which Daniel and I apparently had a beef for all of like 3 days on Twitter with each other, I think, some point.
We did.
I guess. You said something about it in the video. I think I made like a comment or something in character. I don't remember. I just remember you saying something about it when you were talking about like character accounts and Twitter time on one of your videos. And I was like, dude, totally named me. Dude, I've arrived. I do not have to do anything else with my life. But anyway, but Twitter of Time, we always love to talk about the different things we're seeing and doing on Twitter of Time. And I'd actually like to hear a little bit of Daniel's thoughts about the community as we kind of, work toward actually pointing some either individuals or accounts out and recognize them. So, Daniel, what good things can you say about Twitter of Time? Because they have to be good, or otherwise nobody will listen to us.
I hate no.
Don't do that. No, edit this out, Thorn.
I'll think about it.
Twitter time. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am as a YouTuber without them. I wouldn't be in a place where I'm, meeting with and talking with beautiful people like yourselves here on this podcast. And it's because they've become this network of support for Wheel of Time fans like ourselves. And they're always finding the new podcasts, hyping them up. I mean, they're the best small content creator supporters I've ever seen online. And they're so good at shutting down just like trolls and, regardless hate, while also encouraging discussion. So I don't think I'd change much about Twitter at Time. We even have people involved with the show chiming in. We have people all across the board. No Brandon yet, as far as I'm aware, but we'll get him.
I think he's on Twitter.
Yeah,
just
I
not
follow
Twitter
him actually on Twitter, but he's not been in that community part. A lot of people in the community have tweeted and retweeted him and things like that, but he's not been an active participant. But I think if you guys want to mention someone or something else, that's fine too. But he was coming across my notifications a lot today, I think, because he tagged me in something. I think he did an impromptu. It was part of Wheel of Time dance party today. But I want to mention Malkir's King, the Landman Dragon account. Like I want to talk about that dude. He's like
him.
legit. Like, dude, Lan. Like, I know that's not your real name, but I'm going to call you that because you're Lan. You're legit, dude.
I think his name is Matt.
Yeah. Well, according to this, it's I've actually got his profile pulled up. But if anyone's looking to follow more people and more character accounts and actor accounts on Twitter of Time, an actor account is Alaman Dragon at Malkir's King, and he has a website on his account which is mattwolfactor.com. Check him out. He's definitely a very, very active and very known participant in the Wheel of Time community. It's always a pleasure to interact with him, and I'm not gonna lie, there's few people beyond him retweeting either me or the One Power podcast or whoever. There's very few people beyond him that I get really excited if they retweet something. One is Daniel, but he's a solid contributor, a solid all around dude from everything I can tell. I mean, I talk like I know him, I don't, but and he's well, Thorn. I feel like you can elaborate on why he's very memorable.
I think it's just how active he is and how enthusiastic he is, and he's a lot of fun. He's
a whole lot of fun. So we definitely want to recognize you, Matt Lan. I said I was going to call you Lan. And definitely.
I believe to us it's Al Landman Dragorin, but that's,
Well, hold on. Wait. Nope. Actually, there's more to it. Give me a second. Because I just put
you're right.
I just put my phone down. It's actually. I need to.
Lord of the Seven Towers. King of Malkir.
Oh, she knows it off the top of the head. Off the top of the head.
Do you want to do the rest, or shall I?
I
Don't know the rest.
actually
Okay, cool.
kind of
Because
froze there.
his full title, A Landman Dragon, Lord of the Seven Towers, Lord of the Lakes, True Blade of Malkir, Defender of the Wall of First Fires, Bearer of the Sword of the Thousand Lakes. Hats off to you, sir.
There you go.
For sure. Daniel, is there anything else you want to mention as far as Twitter time, Thorn? Either one of you?
Keep doing.
I think it's
Go right ahead.
I think it's funny that the Child Buyer account and the Dane Bornhall account have been flirting.
God. Oh my God.
There's been a bit of a romance.
And they drug me into it. They drug the Randall Thor account into it, my Randall Thor Dragon Reborn account into it, because they made a joke about a box of all things. I even tweeted back at him, "You people can't just let this go," which Greg thinks is funny, but of course Rand's got to be like, "Shut up." But yes, Child Buyer and Dane Bornhold, you guys are hilarious, and that is
Best romance.
yes, hands down. So Thorn, I believe it's your turn, time, whatever, to do some social plugs here as we get ready to wrap it up.
Yes, if you have not, you are absolutely silly. You need to go follow Daniel Greene on YouTube and on Twitter. He's just Daniel Greene on YouTube and at Daniel B. Greene with an E at the end on Twitter.
Now, Daniel, before we wrap everything up, I did want to mention this. So when you and I talked and we originally set up doing this episode, you had just hit 30,000 subs on YouTube. I haven't looked very recently. Even when I watched your video today, I didn't actually go to your page and look. Have you crossed 40?
I am about to cross 42, I believe.
Man, that's awesome, dude. That is so great.
It's been a good little bubble.
With our little, how many people do we have? Like less than 300.
Well, to be fair, we don't have a YouTube channel either, and YouTube gets.
Actually, we do.
Really? What?
Technically.
Well, new information is being disseminated.
Okay, so let me rephrase. We don't do videos. We just do the audio right now.
Okay, that's true.
And part of the reason for that is because Thorn and I don't even live anywhere near each other. Actually, Thorn is. My brain stopped.
I'm in
Yes.
Tejas.
Okay, can I get the address, social security number? I need the mother's maiden name.
Good luck stealing any information from me because I don't have anything.
I don't think I knew her real name until we started this podcast, and I'm not at liberty to discuss that. So anyway, but yes, because Thorn's in Texas, I'm in Alabama, and Daniel, if I remember right, are you in Ohio?
I am currently in Columbus, Ohio. I just moved here from Alabama.
I
found your Facebook page.
I'm sorry?
When I was getting ready for this, I accidentally found your Facebook account while I was searching to make sure that I had all your social media.
Oh, crap. I need to delete that.
It's like, nobody go there. Nobody go there now. Don't, stay away.
Yeah, or you might just at least want to set it to private because I think you're posting everything publicly on it.
Wait, really? I thought I deleted the whole account. Yeah, I need to go check on that right now.
And now it's revealed that the entire reason we had Daniel Greene on this podcast is to let him know about his Facebook activity.
It's either you or a guy who looks exactly like you with the same name.
Is the profile picture two people eating ice cream?
I think so. I can't remember. I don't have it open right now.
Well, I need to go. I'm literally open Facebook as we're talking.
It's 9 p.m. Do you know what's going on your Facebook?
I haven't logged into Facebook in probably like 6 months.
I don't blame you. Sometimes I wish I didn't log in, and then I do.
Yeah, you were like the third person down. Yeah, two guys eating ice cream. One of them's you.
Wait, it says only people can find me who are friends of friends. So you must have a friend in common with me.
I'm not a friend.
I don't.
Facebook is a liar.
Facebook is a liar. I don't have any mutuals with
sorry,
you.
I'm singing Toy Story over here while you two banter. It's great. Anyway, where do you live in Alabama?
Huntsville.
Oh, really?
Sir.
I'm much further south in Mobile. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Huntsville for about a
Yeah, I
year,
can see that you
and then I dipped out to Columbus.
Now, I believe my wife's family, not her mother and father, but she's got family on her father's side. I think they live either in or near the Columbus area. I need to double check that with her, but she would be like, "Hey, Daniel Greene lives in Columbus." She's like, "Oh my God, I have like people there." So that would be her next thing she'd say. Or actually, anytime I mention Ohio, she goes, "Ohio?" Like it's a surprise. I'm just like, "Yeah, Ohio."
Oh, hi, Mark.
The state. Oh, hi, Mark. If people out there get that reference, God bless you. God bless you for sitting through that movie.
I actually made a reference instead of just laughing at one of yours, so.
So, I'm sorry, hang on. I'm looking for the gold star I'm supposed to give you. Hang on.
I was like, what are you doing? It's so noisy
Can't
over
find
there.
it. It must be in the back room. I'll get to you next week. No big deal. But yes, so Thorn, you've done Mr. Green's social plugs. What about ours?
Okay, so you can follow us at One Power Pod. It's the same on Twitter and Facebook. And also you can email us at onepowerpod@gmail.com.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's all we
And
got
if you
right
don't
now.
do it, you're serving the shadow.
You're a dark friend.
Big old stinky Lanfear head. Boom. What's up?
Look, I don't want to be a stinky Lanfear head. Do what Daniel Greene says. Our Shy-Tan will come get you, in your sleep. Like it's a thing.
Sleep.
It's a thing.
He's going to come upon you in your sleep.
I'm having an Office reference coming to my head right now. I don't know if that'd be wasted on you, Daniel. I know it's wasted on Thorn.
I've watched The Office. I've dated way too many white chicks to not watch The Office.
You know what? I am a white chick and I've never seen The Office.
I'm sorry. That is like the best. That wins the podcast tonight. That wins. That wins. I just get this image of Shy-Tan crouching in a window, and I just hear Dwight Schrute's voice going, "Learn your rules. You better learn your rules. If you'll be eaten in your sleep." Yeah. Dwight Schrute. Gotta love him. So, Daniel, you have any parting words for everyone besides, do these things or you're a dark friend, which sounds an awful lot like, well, I guess you.
Eat your vegetables, stay in school, be good to each other. You'll get sucked into a Gawyn wet dream.
No! I'd rather die.
That's like what, the fourth circle of hell? Is that the fourth circle?
I would rather sell my soul to Shy-Tan right now than end up.
Don't say those things. Don't say those things. No, no, Thorn.
Gawyn's just so awful.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's kind of 50-50 of which one's going to be worse. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's... God almighty. I think that's where we're going to end it. Just remember to follow us on Twitter and all that good stuff that Thorn's already talked about. Please, please, please help Daniel Greene get to 40K subscribers. And if he already is by the time you get there...
I think he said he already did.
Yeah, I'm at 42.
Oh, I thought you said you were...
So we need to get him to 50K.
It's a 50K. Go, 50K. That's the next milestone. 50K. I'm so sorry. I misheard that.
No, you're fine. It's not important. Thank you.
He says it's not important. I don't have 42,000 subscribers. I would want people to say, get me to 50,000 subscribers. So get Daniel Greene to 50,000 subscribers. Right. We might have like 20 people listen to this, but that's okay. That's 20 people you may not have already. But yeah, so just remember, guys, as always, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. And I'm Greg.
And I'm Thorn.
And I'm Daniel.
And we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.